Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Chantel, and today for Tag Tuesday, I'm going to be doing the Booktube Confessions tag. Yeah. This is one that I've seen going around quite a bit lately. No one has specifically tagged me, but I like the questions in it, so I'm going to do it. This was originally created by Book Reviews with Becky, and yeah, so I just want to get right into the questions. The first question is, what is an unpopular book opinion or preference that you have? I have several. Some of these, honestly, could probably be their own separate videos. If you want me to do that with some of these, you can let me know in the comments. I will take suggestions under advisement. The first one I have is that I'm not actually super precious about my books. I know I see a lot of people on social media who talk about, how they never break spines, they never dog-ear pages, how sacrilegious that would be or whatever. I've never had any of those kind of moral compunctions about books. Unless it's specifically like a very nice special edition copy or some other kind of collectible edition that I want to keep nice on my shelf. I don't concern myself with that very much. Another unpopular opinion I have is that I do think the market is pretty oversaturated with special editions and, fancy, pretty editions of books that have sprayed edges and yada yada, the Illuma crates, the broken bindings, the fairy whatevers that come in all the book boxes or et cetera, et cetera. I think that the market is hugely oversaturated with those, and most books probably don't need anything like that. I think special editions should probably be special, and that's kind of defeating the oversaturation of those kinds of things is kind of defeating the purpose of having special editions of books. So that's another opinion, unpopular opinion I have. Some other unpopular opinions I have is that I feel like the discussion about are we buying too many books, or is book overconsumption a thing? I think that's a much more nuanced kind of discussion than a lot of people are actually doing with it, both in terms of like even like both sides of it. So even the people who don't think that it's a problem and the people who do think that it's a problem, I think there's a lot more nuance there, and ethical and moral thinking to be done about that issue than what a lot of people are actually doing, in terms of how many books we're buying and is overconsumption of books even a thing. And owning physical media, is it good or bad? Should we be doing it or not? Kind of thing. I think there is a lot of nuance there that a lot of people are just not sort of addressing. I also think that, let's see, another unpopular opinion I have is that the hand-wringing and the pearl-clutching about how popular romantasy is right now is just the latest iteration in an extremely long tradition of people getting really het up about women liking smut, women liking romance, women liking quote-unquote trashy books. This is a very, very long, drawn-out thing that's been going on for, at this point, like probably over 200 years. And every time the mainstream is sort of reminded that women collectively really like trashy books and smutty books and romance books, it leads to a lot of this kind of hand-wringing and pearl-clutching. The only difference with romantasy is that now you get a bunch of fantasy dude bros are also chiming into this discussion because they're mad that romantasy has become really popular and it's not their preferred kind of fantasy. But again, I can elaborate on a lot of these issues. It would not be difficult for me to elaborate on many of these issues. So if you want to hear more about any of these issues from me, you can let me know in the comments, and I'll definitely take it under advisement. The second question on this list, has your reading taste changed over the years, and if so, how? Yes, absolutely. I think everybody's reading taste change over the years. I think just in the sense of, now as an adult, even the books that I still enjoy as an adult, and that I also enjoyed as a kid, I enjoy them oftentimes for very different reasons now than I used to. That is just a thing that happens as you get older, as you gain more experience, more knowledge. I think my tastes have broadened as my experience of the world has broadened and my knowledge has broadened. But yeah, when I used to read, a lot more romance novels. I don't read as much romance anymore, though I do still read some. I read way more fantasy now than I used to. I don't read nearly as much mystery thriller as I used to. So like my general preferences and genres have changed, but also just my understanding of the literature that I'm reading is always growing and evolving and changing, and I think that's true of everyone. Third question, what genre do you read to get out of a book slump? I don't know that I've really ever had a book slump. The only time I would consider myself being in a book slump was actually more like burnout. So like after grad school, I was severely burned out, and it took me a while to get back into reading after grad school, because that wasn't a book slump or a reading slump. That was just straight up burnout. But I think, the thing that helps me to not get in a reading slump is that I try not to read too much of the same thing all like in a row. So I try to jump around and do different things, right? So if I'm reading a classic one week, I finish that classic, and maybe I read a contemporary fantasy novel or a mystery novel, or a nonfiction, or, I try to vary it up enough so that I don't get too over, so I don't get too deep down one specific kind of rabbit hole and get bored of it or get tired of it. So yeah, mostly I think it's just a matter of switching it up enough and having enough variety in there within my reading that I'm not getting tired of what I'm reading or slumpy about it. But yeah. Question 4, what are some of your automatic buy authors? Tolkien. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't know that I have any auto buy authors, in the sense of I will go out and purchase every single book that they write. I'm much more of I want to get most things from the library first, and then if I like them, if I decide I like them, then I will start buying their books. But I have a lot of auto read authors, right? T. Kingfisher is one, Rebecca Roanhorse is one. I do collect a few authors, so I collect Tolkien books. I have it's all down here. All my Tolkien books are down here on this shelf on the bottom here. I have a bunch of Pratchett books. I'm in the process of collecting all the Discworld novels, or I will be once I get through the ones that I already own. Once I've read all of them, I will be purchasing, the rest eventually. I'm collecting the Realm of the Elderlings books as I read them. And yeah, I've purchased a number of Rebecca Roanhorse's books, not all of them, but eventually I might. Shannon Chakraborty. I don't own any N.K. Jemisin, but I've read a bunch of her stuff, and I will probably buy some of them, at least some of them, eventually. These are all authors that when I see their name on something, I'm probably going to try to read it at some point. Even if I don't buy it, I will certainly be reading it at some point. That's the beauty of having a great public library, is that I can pick and choose what I buy because I have access to a lot of books that I can read at any time. Question 5, how many chances do you give an author before you won't try them again? I think this one kind of depends. Sometimes, if it's a stylistic thing, if it's a thing about the way that they write, then I may only give them one chance. If I just really do not like the way that this person writes for whatever reason, then I might just be like, you know what, I can't do this. I'm not going to be able to do it unless they drastically change their style. At some point, I'm probably not going to be able to vibe with them. And some authors, it's more just like about the subject matter. So some authors, it's more like, well, you know, I maybe don't vibe with this kind of subject matter, but if they write something that is more in my wheelhouse, then maybe I will do that. You know, maybe I will give that a shot. You know, and some authors I will only read if they're writing about certain kinds of things. And some writers I'm good with no matter what they write because I just like them so much. So it really just kind of depends on the writer. It depends on the style of their writing. It depends on the subject matter. It can depend on a lot of different things, how many chances I give an author. Number 6, do you have anything you like to do or listen to while you read? No, not really. I usually want it to be pretty quiet. I don't snack around. I always have a drink with me, whether it's just like my perpetual bottle of water that I always have nearby, or if it's a soda or a cup of coffee in the morning, or, you know, on a Friday night, I might have a glass of wine. So I always have some kind of beverage. But otherwise, no, I don't really do anything. When I'm reading, I'm reading. And I'm not usually, I like a little white noise. I like to have my window open to listen to the birds singing, especially this time of year because it's like spring and that's nice. But otherwise, no, I pretty much want it to be quiet, and I'm only going to be reading, and I'm definitely not going to be snacking because that just doesn't work for me. I will stop reading to eat a meal and then go back to what I'm reading. And also I listen to audiobooks rarely these days. But when I do, it's usually, you know, if I'm at work and I have a lot of downtime at work. So yeah, if I'm listening to an audiobook at home, I'm usually going to be doing something like, I'll be coloring or something. I do some coloring once in a while, or a jigsaw puzzle. I enjoy doing like a jigsaw puzzle, something that's somewhat mindless, that I can do without having to think too much, but that still sort of occupies me while I'm listening, because if I'm just listening, I will just fall asleep. Like if I'm just sitting and just listening without doing anything else, I will just fall asleep or get distracted by something, and then I will miss what the audiobook is doing. So, yeah. Number 7, how far do you read before DNFing? Again, I think this one depends. Again, some books, I know immediately that this is just not going to work for me. Like, last year, there was a book that I tried to read, and I DNF'd it literally within the first 5 pages because the writing was it wasn't good. The writing was just not good. And so, like, I was just like, yeah, I'm absolutely not going to suffer through this. This is not worth it. So yeah, there's that. But I mean, most books, you know, I try to give them the old college try. If I get to, if I get to close to the halfway point of a book and I still don't care about the characters or don't really understand what's happening or am not invested in any way, then that's a good indication that's probably not going to be worth my time. My free time is limited, and, you know, if a book isn't working for me, I do DNF. I don't DNF super often. It's not a thing that happens very often, but I'm not afraid to when I come across a book that just really isn't working for me for one reason or another, or if I'm having a hard time focusing on it for whatever reason. Yeah, so usually like between a third to halfway through the book is probably when I will usually DNF. Much earlier than that, and I'm usually going to feel like it's too early for me to say. And if I get much farther than that, I tend to feel like I'm committed now and I should just finish it. So, question 8. Do you ever find yourself making the same faces as the characters in the book? I don't think so. I've never thought about that. I sometimes make faces at the book that I'm reading, probably. Sometimes I will be like, or, you know, but I don't know that I make faces. I don't know that I make the same face as the characters. Not that I know of. On question 9, rereading, yes, no, depends. I mean, yeah, I love a reread. I said before, I think I said this a few weeks ago when I did the spoiler tag, but I think any good book is not only going to stand up well to rereads, but is going to encourage rereads. The really good books, you're going to actually get more out of every time you reread them, right? So, like, every time I read Lord of the Rings, I get something else out of it. I get new things out of it. I get different things out of it. There's something that draws my attention that I've never really paid attention to before. There's something that I get out of it that's a little bit different every time. Same with like a book like Jane Eyre or a book like Pride and Prejudice. I've read all those books many times, and every time I do, something else jumps out at me that I maybe haven't considered before, haven't thought about, or I'm bringing new knowledge or a new context or a new kind of life experience to those books that adds an extra layer or dimension to it. I love doing that. I love rereading. It's great. And then the last one is just to tag some other booktubers. Again, I don't know, a shit ton of booktubers have done this tag. So I have no idea who I would even want to tag. So if you're seeing this and you haven't done this tag yet, please do this tag and consider yourself tagged. You can even cite me in your tag video and say, yep, I got tagged by Chantel. Because, yeah, I want to see more people do this tag. It's fun. Especially want to hear more people's unpopular book opinions. Those are always fun and silly to hear about. So, yeah, that's all I got for today. As always, you know, comment your responses, like the video if you like it, subscribe if you want, all that good stuff, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.